The Great Hall of Station Horizon 7 was filled with beings from across the galaxy. There were tall creatures with 4 arms, small ones with skin like blue glass, and others that floated in the air like living clouds. They had all come to watch the Galactic Council make its decision. Queen Valara stood alone in the center of the hall. She was a luminari, a species whose skin glowed with light that showed their feelings. Right now, her light was dim and gray, flickering like a candle about to die. She had not slept in 3 months. She had not eaten properly. She had only one thought in her mind every moment of every day. Her daughter. Her little Ilya. The council has heard your request, Queen Valara, said the head counselor, a massive creature with stone-like skin. His voice echoed through the hall. We understand your pain. We share your grief. Valara's hands shook at her sides. Then help me, please. She is only 7 cycles old. She is just a child. 3 months ago, the Varekari Syndicate had attacked a Luminari transport ship. They killed the guards and took the children. They took Princess Ilya. The Varekari were slavers. They captured people and sold them like objects across the dark corners of the galaxy. Everyone knew this. Everyone feared them. And no one stopped them. Ambassador Korath stepped forward. He was a tall alien with gray skin and eyes that had seen too much of the universe to believe in hope anymore. Your Majesty, we have studied the situation carefully. The Vrekker stronghold on Kethras 4 is impossible to attack. They have thousands of soldiers. They have weapons that can destroy warships. They have been building that fortress for 200 years. So you will do nothing? Valara's voice cracked. We will continue diplomatic discussions. We will apply economic pressure. In time, perhaps in time? Valara's light flashed red with anger and pain. In time, my daughter will be sold to some monster on a distant world. In time, she will forget my face. In time, she will die alone and afraid, wondering why her mother never came for her. The hall was silent. Many of the watching aliens looked away. They felt shame, but not enough shame to act. Korath spread his hands. I am sorry, Queen Valara. Truly I am. But the mathematics are clear. Any rescue attempt would fail. We would lose ships, soldiers, resources, and your daughter would still be lost. We cannot sacrifice many lives for one. She is not just one life, Valara whispered. She is my life. But the council members were already turning away. The decision had been made before she even walked into the room. They had just wanted to look like they cared. Valara felt her light growing dimmer. For the first time since Ilya was taken, she began to lose hope. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps her daughter was truly lost. Perhaps she should go home and learn to live with the empty space in her heart, where her child used to be. Then the doors of the Great Hall opened. 3 figures walked in. They were humans, a species that had only recently joined the galactic community. They were considered primitive by most standards. Their bodies were soft, their lives were short, and they had no special abilities. They could not glow like the Luminari, could not breathe in space like the Kelrani, could not live for 1,000 years like the Stone People. But there was something in the way these 3 humans walked that made the room pay attention. The one in front was a man with black hair cut short and a face that looked like it. Had been through many hard things, but had come out the other side. His name was Captain Tai-Ho Park. Behind him walked a woman with sharp eyes and a medical kit on her belt. This was Sergeant Yuna Kim. And behind her was a young man who still had the nervous look of someone new to the military. Private Doyan Lee, forgive our lateness, Tai-Ho said. His voice was calm and clear. Our ship had engine trouble. Ambassador Korath waved his hand dismissively. This matter does not concern the human delegation. We were just finishing. I heard. Tai-Ho looked at Queen Valara. She looked back at him with empty eyes, a mother who had run out of tears. I heard you tell this woman that her daughter is acceptable losses. Korath's gray skin darkened with annoyance. That is not what I said. It is exactly what you said. You just used more words. Whispers spread through the hall. No one spoke to Ambassador Korath this way. He was one of the most powerful diplomats in the galaxy. But Taiho did not seem to care about power or diplomacy. He was looking at the broken mother in the center of the room. Captain Park, the head counselor, said slowly, "What exactly are you suggesting?" Taiho turned to face the council. "I am suggesting that we go get her daughter back."
Silence.
Then laughter. It started with a few aliens and spread through the hall. Ambassador Koroth shook his head like a teacher disappointed in a foolish student. "You. A handful of humans against the Varakari Syndicate. Against a fortress that has never been broken. You would not last 5 minutes." "Maybe," Taiho said. "Maybe we will all die. But we will die trying to save a child, and that is better than living as people who did nothing." The laughter stopped. Something in Taiho's voice had changed the air in the room. Yuna stepped forward. "We have studied the Varakari stronghold. It is difficult, yes, but not impossible. Humans are good at doing impossible things." "This is foolishness," Koroth said. "You are a young species. You do not understand how the galaxy works. There are rules. There are calculations. You cannot simply where I come from," Taiho interrupted. "We have different calculations. When a child is in danger, we do not count the cost. We move." He walked toward Queen Valara. She watched him come with wide eyes, her light beginning to flicker with something that might have been hope. "Your Majesty," Taiho said, "I cannot promise success. I cannot promise that we will survive. But I can promise you this. I will not stop until I find your daughter, or until my heart stops beating. That is the only math I know." Valara stared at this strange creature. He was so small compared to many species in the room. So fragile. His life would last only 100 years at most. And yet he stood before her like a mountain, solid and unmoving. "Why?" she asked. "You do not know me. You do not know my daughter. Why would you risk your life?" Taiho was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly, so only she could hear. "Because once when I was young, my sister was trapped under a fallen building. Everyone said she was dead. Everyone said to give up. But one man kept digging. For 2 days he kept digging, and he found her alive." Taiho's eyes were bright with memory. "Someone did not give up on her. I will not give up on your daughter." Queen Valara's light changed. The gray began to fade. A soft, warm gold spread across her skin. It was not much. It was just a small flame in a vast darkness. But it was hope. "Thank you," she whispered. Taiho nodded and turned back to the council. "We leave in 6 hours. Officially, this is a reconnaissance mission. Unofficially, we are bringing those children home." Ambassador Koroth watched the humans walk out of the hall. He shook his head slowly. "They are going to die," he said to no one in particular. But somewhere in his ancient heart, a strange feeling stirred. He could not name it. He had not felt it in centuries. Later, he would realize it was the beginning of belief. The shuttle was called Heda, named after a creature from old Korean stories that protected the innocent. It was a small ship, fast and quiet, built for missions that needed to stay hidden. Inside, the 3 humans prepared for what might be their final journey. The trip to Kethros 4 would take 4 days through 7 different jump points. During this time, Sergeant Yuna studied everything they knew about the Varakari stronghold. It was not much, but it was something. "The fortress is built into a volcano," she explained, showing images on a screen. "The only entrance is through the front, and that is guarded by at least 300 soldiers. The walls are made of volcanic rock mixed with metal. Our weapons cannot break through." Private Doyan looked at the images with worried eyes. "So how do we get in?" Yuna pointed to a spot on the image. "Here there is an old ventilation shaft that goes down into the lower levels. It was built to release heat from the volcano. The Varakari do not guard it because they think no one would be crazy enough to enter through an active volcanic vent." "But we are crazy enough," Taiho said from the pilot seat. Doyan swallowed hard. "We are going to fly into a volcano?" "Not fly, jump. We will do a halo drop through the vent. High altitude, low opening. We will fall most of the way, then open our suits at the last moment. The temperature inside will be extreme," Yuna added. "Our suits can handle it for about 3 minutes. After that, We cook. Doyan was quiet for a long moment. Then he took a deep breath. Okay, so we jump into a volcano. Avoid being cooked. Fight through hundreds of soldiers, find the princess, and escape. Simple. Taiho smiled. It was a small smile, tired but genuine. I never said it was simple. I said it was possible. The days passed slowly. They trained, they planned, they checked their equipment again and again. But there were also quiet moments. Moments when the weight of what they were doing pressed down on them. On the third night, Doyan could not sleep. He found Taiho sitting alone in the cargo bay, looking at an old photograph. Captain, may I sit? Taiho nodded and made room. Doyan sat down and waited. He was young, only 22 years old, on his first real mission. He had joined the Galactic Peacekeeping Corps because he wanted to help people. He had never imagined his first mission would be something like this. Sir, Doyan said finally, can I ask you something? Go ahead. Why did you really volunteer for this? The council did not ask us to help. We could have stayed quiet. No one would have blamed us. Taiho was silent for a long time. He looked at the photograph in his hand. It showed a young girl with bright eyes and a wide smile. My sister, he said. Mingyi, she was 8 years old when the soul quake happened. I was 12. Our apartment building collapsed. I got out, but she was trapped under tons of concrete. Doyan listened quietly. The rescue teams came. They searched for 12 hours. Then they said it was impossible. Too much debris? Too dangerous. They said Minji was dead, and we should go home and mourn. Taiho's voice was steady, but his hands were tight around the photograph. But there was this one firefighter, an old man named Mr. Choi. He refused to leave. He kept digging with his bare hands even when his team told him to stop. He dug for 43 hours. His hands were bleeding. His back was broken, but he did not stop. Taiho looked at Doyan. He found her alive. 43 hours under the rubble, and she was alive. The doctors said it was a miracle, but it was not a miracle. It was one man who refused to give up. Doyan felt his eyes burning. That little luminary girl is someone's Mingyi, Taiho said. Her mother is waiting, just like my mother waited. And somewhere out there, that child is hoping someone will come for her. I will not let her hope die. They sat in silence after that. But something had changed in Doyan. His fear was still there, but now there was something stronger. Purpose. On the fourth day, Kethros 4 appeared on their screens. It was an ugly moon, gray and black, covered in volcanic activity. Smoke rose from 100 places. Lava rivers glowed red in the darkness, and there, built into the largest volcano, was the Verikar stronghold. It looks like a door to hell, Yuna said quietly. Good thing we are not afraid of hell, Taiho replied. They waited until the night cycle. When the fortress's sensors were weakest, then they climbed into their drop suits and stood at the cargo bay door. Below them, the volcanic vent glowed orange. Remember Taiho said, 3 minutes inside the vent? Stay together. Do not panic. When we reach the bottom, we find the children and we get out. No matter what happens, the mission comes first. Doyan looked down at the fire below. His heart was pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. But when he looked at his captain, he saw no fear, only determination. Ready? Taiho asked. Yuna checked her weapon. Ready. Doyan gripped his rifle. Ready, sir? Taiho smiled. Then let us go get that little girl. They jumped. The fall was the worst experience of Doyan's life. Heat surrounded him immediately. His suit's cooling system screamed warnings as it fought to keep him alive. The walls of the vent rushed past, glowing red and orange. He could not see the others. He could only fall and pray. 2 minutes. His suit was at 70% capacity. 2.5 minutes. 50%. Warnings flashing everywhere. 2 minutes and 50 seconds. 30%. He could feel the heat now, even through the suit. Then, suddenly, open air. They burst through the bottom of the vent into a massive underground cavern. Doyan activated his suit's landing system and hit the ground hard, but alive. He lay there for a moment, breathing heavily. Then Taiho's voice came through his communicator. "Everyone okay?" "I am good," Yuna reported. "Minor burns? Nothing serious." "I am alive," Doyan managed. "I think I am alive." "You are alive," Taiho confirmed. "Now move. We have work to do." They moved through the lower levels of the fortress like ghosts. Yuna had mapped the layout from old intelligence reports, and they avoided the main corridors where Vakari soldiers patrolled. The prison levels were deep underground, where no light reached. The Vakari kept their prisoners in darkness because it broke their spirits faster. As they got closer, they began to hear sounds. Crying, whimpering, the sounds of children who had lost all hope. Dojan felt anger rise in his chest. What kind of creatures did this to children? They reached the first cell block. Through the bars, they could see small figures huddled in the dark. Different species, different shapes, but all of them children. All of them afraid. "We are going to need more time than we planned," Yuna said quietly. "There must be 40 children here, and we take all of them," Taiho said without hesitation. They moved from cell to cell, breaking locks, whispering words of comfort. Most of the children did not understand their language, but they understood kindness. They understood help. Then Taiho found her. In the smallest, darkest cell, a tiny figure sat alone. She was a luminary, but her light was almost gone. Just a faint flicker under her skin, like a dying star. She held a torn piece of cloth against her chest. It looked like it had once been part of a dress. "Princess Ilya," Taiho said softly. The little girl looked up. Her eyes were huge in her thin face. She did not run. She did not move. She just stared at this strange creature who had appeared in her darkness. "Are you here to hurt me too?" she whispered. Taiho felt something break in his heart. He knelt down slowly, removing his helmet so she could see his face. He tried to make his expression as gentle as possible. "No, little one, I am not here to hurt you. I am here to take you home. To your mother." For a long moment, Ilya did not move. Then something changed in her eyes. Spark. A tiny flame of hope that had almost died, but was not quite gone. "Mama sent you?" "Yes, she never stopped looking for you. She never stopped hoping." Ilya's light flickered. Then it grew, just a little. Just enough to see. She reached out her small hand. Taiho took it gently. "I want to go home," she said. "Then let us go home." At that moment, alarms began to scream throughout the fortress. Red lights flashed. Somewhere above, voices shouted in the Verkar language. They had been discovered. The alarms were everywhere. Red lights painted the dark corridors in blood colors. The sounds of running boots echoed from every direction. The Vakari were coming. "Move!" "Everyone move now!" Taiho shouted. They had 37 children with them. 37 small beings from different worlds. All of them weak from captivity. All of them terrified. Some could walk. Some could not. The humans would have to carry them. Yuna grabbed 2 small children, one under each arm. They were from a species Doyan did not recognize, with thin bodies and large eyes. They weighed almost nothing. "Follow me." Yuna led the way, her weapon ready in one hand. Doyan found himself helping a group of older children, maybe 10 or 11 years old in their species. They could run, but they were slow and scared. He kept them together, kept them moving. Taiho carried Princess Ilya against his chest. She was so light, so fragile. Her arms wrapped around his neck, and he could feel her shaking. "Close your eyes," he told her. "Do not look. I will keep you safe. Promise?" Her voice was tiny. "I promise." The first Vakari soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor. They were ugly creatures, with gray skin covered in scales and eyes that showed no mercy. They raised their weapons. Taiho moved fast. He turned his body to shield Ilya, pulled his pistol, and fired 3 times. 3 soldiers fell. The children screamed, "Keep moving. Do not stop." They ran through corridors that all looked the same. Dark stone walls. Flickering lights. The sounds of pursuit getting closer. Yuna knew the map, But the map had not shown them everything. Twice, they hit dead ends and had to turn back. Precious minutes lost. There. Yuna pointed to a large door. That leads to the cargo hangar. We can call for extraction from there. But between them and the door stood a wall of Rekaree soldiers. 20, maybe 30 of them, all armed, all ready to kill. For a moment, no one moved. The children huddled behind the humans, crying softly. The soldiers stared at them with cold eyes. Then one of the Varikar stepped forward. He was larger than the others, with scars across his face. "A commander, humans," he said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "You should not have come here. This place will be your grave." Taiho handed Ilya to Yuna. "Keep her safe, no matter what." "Captain, that is an order, Sergeant." He stepped forward to face the commander alone. His body was tired. His wounds from the drop still ached. But his eyes were steady. "I am going to give you one chance," Taiho said. "Let us pass. Let these children go. And no one else has to die today." The Varikar laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You threaten us. One small human against the Varikari syndicate? You are nothing. You are insects." Taiho smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Where I come from, insects sometimes bring down giants." The commander raised his weapon. "Kill them. Kill them all." What happened next became a legend. In later years, beings across the galaxy would tell the story of what 3 humans did in that corridor. Some would say it was impossible. Some would say it was lies. But those who saw it would never forget. Taiho moved first. He was not the strongest or the fastest species in the galaxy. But humans had something else. They had the ability to push past their limits when it mattered. They had the fire that burned when everything should be cold. He shot 5 soldiers before they could react. Then he was among them, too close for them to shoot without hitting their own people. He fought with fists and elbows and knees. Using every dirty trick humans had learned in thousands of years of war, Yuna protected the children with her body. Shooting any soldier who got close. A plasma bolt hit her shoulder, burning through her armor. She screamed but did not fall. She kept shooting, and Doyan, the young rookie on his first mission, found something inside himself that he did not know existed. A group of soldiers tried to go around the fight, heading for the children. Doyan saw them and did the only thing he could. He ran to block them. 1 human against 8 Vetkari in a narrow side corridor. "You cannot pass," he said. His voice shook, but his rifle was steady. The soldiers laughed and charged. Doyon held that corridor for 11 minutes. Later, they found the bodies of 9 Vakari soldiers around him. He had been shot 3 times, stabbed twice, and was missing a piece of his ear. But he was alive. And the children behind him were safe. The fight ended when Taiho killed the commander. He did it with the commander's own blade, taken in close combat. When their leader fell, the remaining soldiers broke and ran. Taiho stood in the middle of the corridor, breathing hard. Blood covered his face, some his own, some not. Around him lay the bodies of their enemies. "Captain." Yuna limped over, still holding 2 children. "We need to move. More will come." They reached the cargo hangar. But their hope died when they saw what waited for them. Their shuttle was destroyed. The Varikar had found it and burned it to pieces. Smoke rose from the wreckage. There was no escape. "Oh," Yuna breathed. "No, no, no." The children began to cry again. They had come so close to freedom, and now they were trapped. Doyan leaned against a wall, bleeding from his wounds. "What do we do now, Captain?" Taiho looked at the destroyed shuttle. He looked at the children. He looked at Ilya, who was staring up at him with eyes full of trust. She believed he would save her. She believed completely he could not fail her. "Yuna, give me your communicator. Set it to broadcast on all open frequencies." "Sir." "That will let the Vrekari know exactly where we are." "Yes. It will also let everyone else in the sector hear us." Yuna understood. She handed over the communicator. Taiho activated it and spoke. "This is Captain Park Taiho of Earth. I am calling from the HFY stronghold on Kethros 4. My team has rescued 37 children from slavery. We are surrounded by enemies. Our ship is destroyed. We have nowhere to go." He paused, looking at the children huddled around him. Some had stopped crying. They were listening. The Galactic Council said these children were acceptable losses. The ambassadors and diplomats calculated that saving them was not worth the cost. "Well, I do not accept that calculation. I reject it." His voice grew stronger. "There are 37 innocent lives here. Children who deserve to grow up. Children who deserve to see their families again. If anyone out there is listening, we need help. We need extraction. We cannot do this alone." Just the hum of static. "Please," Taiho said quietly. "Help us bring these children home." Turned off the communicator. The silence was heavy. Minutes passed. The sounds of Rekar soldiers grew closer. They were coming, hundreds of them, to finish what they had started. Then Yuna's screen beeped. She looked at it. Her eyes went wide. "Captain you need to see this." Ships were appearing in orbit around Kethros 4. First 1, then 3, then 10. Small ships, large ships. Ships from species that had nothing in common except one thing. They had all heard the message. A Luminar medical frigate dropped out of jump space, glowing like a small sun. 2 Kalrani trading vessels followed. A patrol ship from the Council appeared, its commander claiming that he had received faulty navigation data. That brought him to the wrong location, and more were coming. Freighters and shuttles and private yachts. Beings from across the sector who had watched their governments do nothing but could not stay silent themselves. A voice crackled over the communicator. "Earth vessel. This is the Luminary medical frigate Bright Hope. We heard your call. Hold your position. We are coming to get you." Taiho felt his legs go weak. He had to grab the wall to stay upright. "Understood, Bright Hope. We will be waiting." Leah tugged at his sleeve. "What is happening? Are we saved?" Taiho looked down at her. Despite everything, despite the blood and the pain and the fear, he smiled. "Yes, little one. Help is coming. You are going home." On Station Horizon 7, Ambassador Korath watched the rescue unfold on live feeds. Ships from dozens of worlds were converging on the HFY stronghold. The slavers were retreating, overwhelmed by the sudden response. "Impossible," he murmured. "Absolutely impossible." Young Aide stood beside him. "Sir, what do you think this means?" Korath watched as a human soldier, barely able to stand, carried a glowing alien child onto a rescue ship. The child was holding his hand like he was the only thing in the universe that mattered. "It means," Korath said slowly, "that we have badly underestimated what humans are willing to do for strangers." The aide was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Is that good or bad?" Korath did not answer. He was still watching the screen, where a species the galaxy had dismissed as primitive was changing everything they thought they knew about courage. The rescue fleet moved through space like a river of lights. 15 ships from 12 different species, all heading toward Station Horizon 7. In the center of the fleet flew the Luminary medical frigate Bright Hope, carrying the most precious cargo in the galaxy, 30-7 children. All alive, all going home. Captain Taiho lay in the medical bay, connected to machines that beeped and hummed. The doctors had counted his wounds. 17 cuts, 4 plasma burns, 2 cracked ribs, 1 broken finger. They said he should have died 3 times during the mission. They said it was a miracle he was still breathing. Taiho thought about miracles. He thought about Mr. Choi, digging through rubble with bloody hands. He thought about his sister's face when she finally saw sunlight again. Some people called those things miracles. Taiho called them choices. Choices to keep going when everything said stop. Beside his bed, in a small chair that the nurses had brought, sat Princess Ilya. She had not moved in 2 days. The Luminary medical staff had tried to take her to a proper room. They had tried to give her food, warm light, soft beds. She had refused everything. The moment anyone tried to move her away from the human, she would glow bright red with distress and scream. So they let her stay. Yuna visited often, her arm wrapped in regeneration bandages. She would sit with Elia and tell her stories about Earth, stories about oceans that went on forever, about mountains that touched the clouds, about forests where the trees grew so thick you could not see the sky. "Your world sounds beautiful," Ilya said one evening, "but scary too. So many places where you could get lost." Yuna smiled. "Humans are good at finding our way back, even when we get lost." On the third day, Do-Yan limped into the medical bay. His wounds were healing, but he would carry scars for the rest of his life. He did not mind. They were marks of something meaningful. "Any change?" he asked Yuna quietly. "His vital signs are stronger. The doctors say he might wake up today." Ilya looked up at them. "He will wake up. He promised to take me home. He keeps his promises." Do-Yan sat down on the floor next to Ilya's chair. "How do you know he keeps his promises?" "You only just met him." Ilya was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke in the way that children sometimes do, saying simple things that cut straight to the heart of truth. "Because when he found me in the dark, he was not afraid. Everyone else who came to that place was afraid. The guards were afraid of their masters. The other prisoners were afraid of everything. But he walked into my cell like the darkness could not touch him." She looked at Tai-Ho's sleeping face. "And when he picked me up, he was warm. So warm, like carrying a piece of the sun. No one had been warm to me since they took me away. I forgot what it felt like." Yuna felt tears in her eyes. She blinked them away. "Humans are like that," she said softly. "We run hot. Our bodies, our hearts, we burn too bright and too fast, and we do not live very long compared to other species. But while we are here, we burn." Ilya nodded like she understood completely. That evening, Tai-Ho opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was a small, glowing face staring at him from very close. Ilya's eyes were enormous, filled with hope and fear and joy all mixed together. "You are awake." Her light exploded into brilliant white, so bright that Do-Yan had to shield his eyes. "I knew it. I knew you would wake up." Tai-Ho tried to speak, but his throat was dry. Yuna quickly brought water and helped him drink. "How long?" he managed to ask. 3 days, Yuna said. "We are 1 day from Station Horizon 7. The children are all safe. The galaxy is watching." "You're famous, Captain?" Tai-Ho groaned. "I do not want to be famous. I want to finish the mission." "The mission is almost done," Yuna smiled. "Queen Valara is waiting at the station. She has been watching the fleet's progress every moment. They say she has not slept since we sent word that Ilya was alive." Ilya grabbed Tai-Ho's hand. Her small fingers were cool against his skin, but her light was warm. "You will meet my mama," she said. "She will love you. She will be so happy." Tai-Ho squeezed her hand gently. "I am looking forward to it, little one." The last day of the journey was strange. News feeds from across the galaxy played constantly on the ship's screens. Everyone was talking about the Kethro's rescue. Pundits and experts debated what it meant for human-alien relations. Politicians gave speeches about the importance of child welfare. Companies announced donations to anti-slavery organizations, but the thing that people talked about most was the broadcast. Someone had recorded Tai-Ho's desperate call for help and shared it across the network. Billions of beings had heard his voice, had heard him reject the cold mathematics of acceptable losses. There are 37 innocent lives here, children who deserve to grow up. Those words echoed across worlds. They were translated into thousands of languages. They were quoted in schools and governments and homes. A Kelrani journalist interviewed Do-Yan for a documentary. "Were you afraid?" she asked. Do-Hayan thought about the corridor, about the soldiers coming toward him, about the children behind him, counting on him to keep them safe. "Yes," he said. "I was more afraid than I have ever been in my life." But on Earth we have a saying, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is deciding that something else is more important than fear. And what was more important? Do-Yan looked at the camera. Them, the children. That was the only thing that mattered. The documentary would later win awards. It would be shown in schools across the galaxy. In that moment, that simple answer from a young human soldier would change how many species thought about courage. On the final night before arrival, Ilya could not sleep. She sat in the observation deck, watching the stars pass by. Taiho found her there, having escaped from the medical bay against the doctor's wishes. "You should be resting," Ilya said, sounding so much like a worried adult that Taiho laughed. "So should you." He sat down beside her, moving slowly because of his injuries. "What are you doing up here?" Ilya was quiet for a long moment. Her light shifted through colors: blue, gold, pale green. "I am scared," she finally admitted. "Of what?" "Of seeing Mama again." She pulled her knees up to her chest. "What if she is different? What if I am different? 3 months is a long time. What if she does not love me the same way anymore?" Taiho understood. It was a fear that many rescued people felt. The fear that captivity had changed them, had broken something that could not be fixed.
"Ilya,
"Look at me." She turned her large eyes toward him. "Your mother has spent every moment since you were taken trying to find you. She stood before the entire Galactic Council and begged for help. When they said no, she did not give up. She kept hoping. She kept believing. That kind of love does not change. That kind of love does not break." "But what if I am not the same person she remembers?" Taiho smiled gently. "You are not. You have been through terrible things. Those things are part of you now. But you know what else is part of you? Survival, strength, hope. You sat in that cell for 3 months, and you never gave up completely. That little flame inside you never went out. That is who you are now. Stronger than before." Ilya thought about this. Then she leaned against him, resting her head on his arm. "You are very warm," she murmured. "Humans run hot." "It is one of our few good traits." They sat together until the ship entered the final approach to Station Horizon 7. Through the observation window, they could see the massive station growing larger. Lights sparkled across its surface like a city in space. Somewhere on that station, a mother was waiting. "Taiho?" Ilya said quietly. "Yes." "Will you stay with me when we land? I do not want to be alone when I see her." Taiho put his arm around her carefully, mindful of his wounds. "I will be right beside you. I promise." Ilya's light glowed steady gold, the color of trust, the color of family. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for coming into the dark to find me." Taiho watched the station draw closer and thought about all the darkness in the universe. All the places where light could not reach. All the children still waiting for someone to care enough to look for them. One rescue did not fix everything. One mission did not end the suffering, but it was a start. A small flame that might grow into something larger. "You do not have to thank me," he said finally. "That is what we do. We go into the dark, and we bring people home." The ship began its docking sequence. In a few minutes, everything would change. But for now, in this quiet moment, a human and an alien child sat together and watched the stars. It was almost time to go home. The docking bay of Station Horizon 7 had never been so crowded. Thousands of beings stood pressed together, representing every species in the galactic community. They had come to witness history. They had come to see something they had stopped believing was possible. They had come to watch children come home at the front of the crowd. Separated from the masses by a line of guards stood Queen Valara. She wore no crown. She had refused the royal robes. Today, she was not a queen. Today, she was only a mother. Her light flickered through every color imaginable. Hope, fear, joy, pain, disbelief. 3 months of emotions that she had kept locked inside were now spilling out for everyone to see. She did not care. Let them see. Let the whole galaxy see what a mother felt when her child was stolen. Beside her stood Ambassador Korath. He had asked to be present, though he could not explain why. Perhaps he needed to see it with his own eyes. Perhaps he needed to understand something about the universe that he had missed in his many centuries of life. "The ship is docking now," an aide announced. Valara's light went still. Pure white. The luminary color of overwhelming emotion. The airlock door began to open. First came Sergeant Yuna, walking slowly because of her injuries but standing tall. Behind her came Private Doyan, his face scarred, but his eyes bright. The crowd began to murmur with respect. These were the heroes of Kethros 4. These were the humans who had done the impossible. Then the children started coming out, one by one. They emerged into the light. Small beings from a dozen worlds blinking in the brightness after months of darkness. Many of them cried when they saw the open space, the colors, the faces of people who were not their captors. Families rushed forward. Parents grabbed their children. Brothers and sisters embraced. The sounds of sobbing and laughing filled the air. Names were called in languages that had never been heard together before. For a few beautiful moments, the differences between species did not matter. There was only love. There was only reunion. But Queen Valara did not move. Her eyes were fixed on the airlock door. She was waiting. Waiting for the only face that mattered. Then Captain Tai-Ho stepped through. He looked terrible. His uniform was torn and stained. Bandages covered half his body. He walked with a limp that suggested he should not be walking at all. But his arms were full of something precious. Princess Ilya clung to his neck, her face buried against his shoulder. She was afraid to look. Afraid that this was a dream. Afraid that she would open her eyes and be back in that dark cell, alone and forgotten. Tai-Ho walked forward slowly. The crowd parted for him. Every eye in the bay was watching. He stopped 10 meters from Queen Valara. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice rough with exhaustion. "I believe this belongs to you." Ilya stirred. She heard his voice. She felt his warmth. And she felt something else. A familiar presence. A light that she would know anywhere, even in the deepest darkness. Slowly, she turned her head, and she saw her mother. For one eternal moment, neither of them moved. 3 months of separation hung between them. 3 months of fear and grief and desperate hope. 3 months of a mother wondering if she would ever see her daughter again. Then Ilya's light exploded. It was not gold or white or any single color. It was everything. Every emotion a child could feel, every bit of love and relief and joy that her small body could hold. All of it pouring out in a light so bright that beings had to shield their eyes. "Mama." Tai-Ho set her down gently. The moment her feet touched the floor, she ran. She did not run with dignity or grace. She ran the way children do when they need their mothers. Stumbling, desperate, arms reaching out. Her light left trails in the air like a comet. Valara dropped to her knees. She did not care that the whole galaxy was watching. She did not care about protocol or royal dignity or anything, except the small glowing form racing toward her. They collided in the middle of the docking bay. Valara caught her daughter and pulled her close, so close that their lights merged into one brilliant beacon. They were both crying. The Luminari did not cry tears like humans, but light poured from their eyes, liquid starlight falling to the floor. "Mom, I'm back." Ilya sobbed. "I'm back. He rescued me. The human came into the dark, and he found me, and he brought me home. I know, my light. I know." Valara was shaking, her whole body trembling with the force of her relief. "I never stopped hoping. I never stopped believing you would come back to me. I was so scared, Mama. It was so dark. I thought no one would ever come, but someone did come." Valara looked up at Tai-Ho, still standing where he had stopped, watching the reunion with quiet eyes. Someone came. The crowd was weeping. Beings from species that had nothing in common, who had fought wars against each other, who disagreed on everything from politics to the nature of reality. They all stood together, watching a mother hold her child, and they cried. Ambassador Koroth felt something wet on his face. He touched it and was shocked to find tears. He had not cried in 400 years. He had forgotten that he still could. After a long moment, Valara rose to her feet. She held Ilya against her chest, unwilling to let go, perhaps unable to. She walked toward Tai-Ho with slow, deliberate steps. The captain straightened as much as his injuries allowed. He was not sure what to do. He was not royalty. He was not a diplomat. He was just a soldier who had done his job. Valara stopped in front of him. Up close, she was taller than him by nearly a head. Her light had shifted to deep gold, the luminary color of gratitude so profound it had no words. "Human," she said. Her voice carried across the silent bay. "Taiho of Earth, you have given me back my child, my light, my everything." Taiho opened his mouth to say something humble, something about just doing his duty. But Valara was not finished. She reached out and placed her hand over his heart. The touch sent warmth through his chest. It's like standing in sunlight after a long winter. Ilya looked up at this, and her eyes went wide. She knew what this gesture meant. Every Luminari child learned about it. From this day forward, Valara declared, "You are Velthara, heart-bonded to the Luminari people. You are family to us. Your world is our world. Your people are our people. We will stand with you in light and in darkness, in peace and in war, until the stars themselves grow cold." A gasp ran through the crowd. Velthara was the highest honor the Luminari could give. It had not been granted to anyone outside their species in over 1,000 years. Taiho felt his throat tighten. He thought about all the people who had called humans primitive, all the species who had looked down on Earth and its short-lived, soft-skinned inhabitants, and here was one of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy, declaring his people family. "Your Majesty," he managed. "I do not deserve you deserve everything," Valara interrupted softly. "You gave everything. Do not tell me what you deserve." Oh. She removed her hand and stepped back. Ilya reached out and grabbed Taiho's hand, pulling him down to her level. "Thank you," she whispered, just loud enough for him to hear. "Thank you for not giving up." Then she hugged him. In front of the cameras, in front of the council, in front of the entire watching galaxy. A small alien princess wrapped her arms around a wounded human soldier and held on like he was the only safe place in the universe, because for 3 months, Taiho hugged her back carefully, mindful of her fragile bones. His eyes were burning. He was determined not to cry on galactic broadcast. He was failing. "You're going to be okay now," he told her. "You are home, I know." Ilya pulled back and smiled at him. It was the first real smile she had smiled in 3 months. "But you will visit, right? You are Velthara now. That means you are family." "Family visits." Taiho laughed. It hurt his ribs, but he laughed anyway. "Oh. I will visit. I promise." Yuna and Doyan joined him. They were both crying too. Doyan did not even try to hide it. Yuna handed him a tissue. "Well, Captain," Yuna said, her voice thick, "I think we can call the mission a success." Taiho watched Valara carry Ilya away, surrounded by Luminari guards and family members. The little princess kept looking back, waving at him with one small hand. Her light was steady and bright. "Yes," he said quietly. "I think we can." Later that night, Ambassador Koreth found Taiho alone on an observation deck. The human was watching the stars, just as he had watched them with Ilya on the ship. "I owe you an apology," Koreth said. Taiho did not turn around. "For what?" "For laughing at you. For saying you would fail." Korath stood beside him. "For underestimating what your species is capable of." Taiho shrugged. "You were not wrong. By any reasonable calculation, we should have failed. We should have died, but you did not." "No, we did not." Koreth was silent for a long moment. Then he asked the question that had been burning in his mind since the day the humans walked into the council chamber. How? How do you do it? How do you look at impossible situations and decide to try anyway? How do you risk everything for strangers? My species has been part of the galaxy for 6,000 years. We have learned to calculate costs and benefits, to make logical decisions, to accept acceptable losses. How do humans not see the world that way? Taiho thought about it. He thought about Mr. Choi digging through rubble. He thought about his mother's face when Minji came home. He thought about Ilya's smile when she saw her mother. "I think," he said slowly, "it is because we live such short lives. We do not have 6,000 years. We have maybe 80 or 90 if we are lucky. That is not enough time to be careful. That is not enough time to wait for perfect odds. He turned to look at Korath. We burn fast and bright because we have no other choice. And when we see someone in trouble, we do not think about calculations. We think about what we would want someone to do if it was us in the dark. Korath considered this. It was such a simple philosophy, so primitive by galactic standards, and yet it had accomplished what thousands of years of civilization had not. I think, Korath said, that the galaxy is not ready for humans. Taiho smiled. Maybe not. But we are here anyway. Far away in a palace of light, a mother held her daughter while she slept. Ilya's dreams were peaceful for the first time in months. In her hand, she clutched a small patch of human fabric that Taiho had given her from his uniform. A reminder that somewhere in the vast darkness of space, there was a species that would walk into hell for a stranger. A species that measured worth, not in power or logic, but in compassion. A species that burned like stars, brief and brilliant and beautiful, and watching over all of it, in the quiet spaces between moments. The galaxy began to change. Not because of treaties or wars or great political movements, but because one human refused to leave a child in the dark. That was enough. That was everything.